Right, so short instructional video on rejetting the Yamaha xj900s for ethanol content, petrol. The reason I'm using custard in my coffee is because I've spent 38 quid on there. I'd rather spend the money on bloody getting the jets in my bike. So a little bit about petrol. Here we've got some petrol. All petrol in the UK is E5. That doesn't mean 5% ethanol, it means from 1% to 5% ethanol. Now if you're buying expensive petrol from BP and it's running great for you, it's running great not because it's high octane or they're putting something good in there for you. It's running great because it's 1% ethanol. All the expensive petrol, they put the minimum 1% ethanol in. Now also politically, because Sainsbury's majority stakeholder is the Qatari royal family, they also use 1% ethanol as well, and you will find your bike runs pretty well on that on standard jets. But now we're talking about E10 petrols coming in. So there's going to be black at petrol and white at petrol, and if you're happy to pay a lot of money for petrol, you know, you'll be paying 140 a litre eventually, and I'll be paying 110 because I'm jetting for E10. There's me jets. They've cost me £32.88. Now I'll get that back in 6 fill-ups. I might also need main jets. These are primary jets. Might need main jets as well, but right now that's the main thing. Get these in. I've gone up 2 sizes to 17.5. Standard size is 12.5. Right, to do the job you don't need too many tools. Just a few spanners. I don't even think I'll need all of these. Particularly a 10mm, an 8mm, a 12mm. I might need a 13 to get the tank off. I don't know. This thing of 13 in now. 4 spanners, and under no account touch Japanese carburetors crosshead screws with these. These are Phillips screwdrivers. All you'll do is tear off the heads. What you need is one of these. That is a vessel screwdriver. It is made in Japan, very expensive. I don't know if you can see there, it's even got little teeth in the thing. It's a Japanese industrial standard screwdriver. The crosshead screws on Japanese motorbikes are Japanese industrial standard. They are not Phillips. Phillips screws are wood screws that are designed so that the screwdriver cams out of the head when it reaches a certain tightness so as not to split wood. For that reason Japan went and made their own screws, JSI, which you can get much more torque on. If you try to undo a JSI screw with a Phillips, all you'll do is tear it to bits, and then you'll be loads of problems trying to take your carburetor to bits. So go on Amazon or eBay, look up Vessel JSI screwdriver, and that's all your tools. So let's begin. Right, so the first thing to do is take the seat off. If you don't know how to take the seat off, maybe an idea to stop now. Second thing to do is get under here and turn off the petrol. Turn it to the horizontal position. There we go. Next step is undo those two bolts, securing the tank. Oh dear. That's 12, that other one's a 10. With the tank loosened off, you need to now disconnect the petrol pipe from the tap. You'll need your needle nose pliers for that. Disconnect that green connector, which is your fuel tank sender unit, and pull out that breather pipe which isn't attached. Just a word about your fuel hose, your fuel line. We will also be taking off the fuel line to the carburetor. Make sure you know which way these go. I had an issue with my bike. The fuel pipe wasn't long enough, and at one point somebody had put the filter on the carb side. So what I kept doing was, every time I took the tank off, I'd put the bloody filter pipe onto the tank, and then the pipe from the tank into the carb. So basically we're trying to pump fuel from the carb into the tank, and it won't run like that. And you'll make a lot of noise coming out of your fuel pump. So make sure you know which pipe is which. Next point, removing the airbox. There's a bolt there, 10mm, and there's some screws under there. Now these rubber shrouds, they don't meet very well with those carburetors. They don't at all. So this is a chance to get your vessel screwdriver on there, unloosen them. Right, airbox is lifted off, and these are your stacks. Like I say, your airbox doesn't grip very well at the bottom here, but it's covered by all them stacks. The airbox itself has a couple of pipes fit on there, one there, which is there, and there's one here which is there, or somewhere. Just make sure, or is that it there? That's one. Wherever, check them out, see where them pipes go, make sure they're back on when you reassemble. Next, carburetor. Get the carburetor off. Remove the throttle position sensor, unplug it. Just press that tab at the bottom, pull it down. There is this connector here. I think it's for heating the carburetors. There's a carb heater in there. A bit hard to get off with one hand, so I'll do that in a bit. The next thing, we'll have to undo these screws. Those screws here, all four of them, that clamp the rubber carb inlets to the carbs. Unfasten them with your vessel screwdriver. Then that choke, that's the choke anchor. I've replaced that with an Allen key because I butchered the crosshead screw using a Phillips screwdriver. Next, the cables, the throttle cables. Don't undo that bolt because that sets your tension. Undo the bolt at the back, then manually spin this round, the throttle linkage, and you just, when it's loose, you can just push the cable forward and right round and just pull that nipple out, edge it out. When you're rebuilding it, the top one's quite tricky, the bottom one's very easy. Again, make sure you sort of know which one of your cables is which. Although if you were to forget, just twist the throttle, and the one that pulls in is the acceleration, and the one that doesn't is deceleration. So let's do that. Right, just a correction there. When I said loosen off the back one and leave the front one, no, wrong. You have to loosen the front one, and then it pulls. It can push it back and then lift it out. Don't touch the back one. The back one sets the cable tension. So correction there, pull the front one, loosen the front one off, 10mm spanner, leave the back one. Just edge them out, you just plenty of movement, then it'll just push out, lift, and then just pull firmly upwards, and making sure everything's disconnected. Left the choke nipple in, just comes out like that. Bingo, that's it, carbs removed. Bear in mind, before you take them in the house, they are full of petrol still, so you might want to just invert them, tip it all out into a bucket. Right, carburetors are off, and this is where your vessel's Megadora will come into its own. Remove the float balls. These are your 4 screws that retain them. Again, the Japanese industrial standard, not Phillips. Don't use a Phillips screwdriver on there, you will butcher them. These screwdrivers are about £15 from Amazon. I got this, made in Japan, well worth it. I'm not going to film myself doing this because I have to put all my weight on the screw. I don't want to butcher them, so next time, next clip, well, I'm going to join these clips together, they'll be off. So the 4 float balls are all off. Like I say, they sit nicely, these carburetors, flatly. Lean over them and really get your weight onto that screw with your screwdriver, and they'll come off. There were just a couple, a little bit tight, but they came off. Now it's time to remove the pilot jet, which is there. Flat bladed screwdriver, new one's ready, all 4 of them. Again, I won't do this holding a camera and do it with one hand because I need to really get some purchase on these jets. So old jets out, new jets in. Those are 12.5s, those are 17.5s. The UK's agent for Mikuni Carbs is Allen's Performance Limited. And these may not be the right size jets, as somebody said, well, why don't you just take it to a rolling road and have a guy, you know, dyno it, and you know, that'll cost you about at least £500, I should imagine. So you're getting this information free, gratis, for nothing. It's cost me already £32.88, and it may cost me more. They may not be the right size primaries, so I'll have to change them again. If you'd like to help me take the edge off of this information, off the price off of getting this information, you could make a small donation to IJR9005 at outlook.com via PayPal. All donations gratefully received. Like I say, this is just started spending. I could be spending a couple of £100 here, but so we'll try it with them. Float bowls back on, tightened up. Right, carburetors loosely put back on the bike. Just push them, put them back into the inlets, push them down, rock them back and forwards, look in there, make sure they're seated nicely, tighten up these screws, reconnect your throttle position sensor connection, and you do fangle connection. Like I say, I think it's a carburetor. not sure. Can we do this one-handed? Yeah. Right. So throttle position sensor, carburetors, all nicely in. Now to tighten up the clamps. Choke cable nipple pushed back into the actuator, ready to clamp down now with the bolt and plate. Here we are at Sainsbury's. I forgot to mention the BP petrol there at 127. You're basically paying there for 1% ethanol. You know, all that high octane stuff. A bike like this doesn't need high octane, and I don't think there's any wonder stuff put in there. You're just paying a premium for 1% ethanol. This is Sainsbury's, 30% owned by the Qatari royal family. 1% ethanol, £1.19. Shall we be filling up here? No. So choke anchor bolt putting in. Just checking the operation of the choke. Yeah, fine. Turn the carburetor throttle, do hickey all the way around, and just lock it with a screwdriver. Check that you're connecting your correct cable. Just turn the throttle, make sure that's the first one. Jiggle the nipple into there, pull it back, put it into the locator, and tighten up. Don't touch this bolt, tighten up that bolt. Right, the bottom cable is in. That's quite easy. It's easier than the top one. Top one into there. Make sure there's a little bit of free play on the accelerator cable. It's imperative now that you check again your carburetors are seated on the other side. I felt them move when I was putting them in, and you can see they've come out. So press them back in and tighten them up again. Double check that the carbs are seated properly. Carburetors just pushed back in nicely, just rocked them back and forth and just pushed them in with my thumb. They just went home nicely. Then tighten them up, make absolutely sure that they are fully home. Petrol pipe back on with the clamp securing it. Take note of the two tubes here that must connect to the airbox. You can put your airbox in position and get underneath, get your arm in here and do that. Well, for the first time ever I've managed to get those rubbers on really well over the carburetors. I just put a bit of washing up liquid on, just a finger of washing up liquid around the mouth, and got on the chair and got above it and pressed down really hard and rocked it. I've got them to go home. So the two tubes underneath are connected, bolt in the front, tighten those up. Right, clamps all tightened up along the bottom here. Refit the drain pipe and that pipe there. Tank back on loosely. Petrol pipe reconnected. I'm getting some new hose clamps. They're not very good condition, just a few quid. Reconnect the green connector. Bolt it back up. Bolt the tank up with the bolts. Tank back on loosely. Petrol pipe reconnected. I'm getting some new hose clamps. They're not very good condition, just a few quid. Reconnect the green connector. Bolt it back up. Bolt the tank up with the bolts. Tank bolted back on. Seat fixed back in a position. Child's toy That were a kid's toy, that. We had some little wheels on it. It was a kid's shopping trolley. Cost me £2. First fire up, choke on, ignition on. Might need to lift my tick over a bit, damn it. Not bad. It's okay. Float bowls back on, tightened up. Here we are at Sainsbury's. I forgot to mention the BP petrol there at 127. You're basically paying there for 1% ethanol. You know, all that high octane stuff. A bike like this doesn't need high octane, and I don't think there's any wonder stuff put in there. You're just paying a premium for 1% ethanol. This is Sainsbury's, 30% owned by the Qatari royal family. 1% ethanol, £1.19. Shall we be filling up here? No. So I'll be filling up here and taking the Tesco challenge, which is 4% ethanol. I've already got 2 gallons of Sainsbury's 1% ethanol in, so it's going to take me a week to burn that off. So in a week's time we can make another video and see how she runs.